All right, folks, it is 3:22 p.m. Central Time, and we are live with TapQi Live for October 22nd, 2023. Now, today's event is part of a thing that is going on that we started yesterday. It's called 22 Days of Veteran Hope. And what we're doing during these 22 days, which conclude on, of course, 11/11 or Veterans Day. What we're doing is we are raising the money through various methods to raise enough money to buy 11 or build 11 homes for 11 veterans or veterans families. And that's part of the Veterans House program. And this thing on Veterans Day is called 11 on 11th. And if you just hit pound 11 on 11th, you will be able to follow all of the things that we're going to be doing over the next, now 21 days. Starting yesterday, 22 days. Last night, we broadcast the very first episode of The Path, which is the Patriot American Training Hour. And this is where we are going beyond simply wanting to solve the problems in our country and studying exactly what we need to do to make those things happen. All right. So one of the things that we're doing now, and see if I can zero in on this, at our different broadcasts, we're going to be starting off, of course, with the Pledge of Allegiance. So I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, one of the things that you'll find, and this is true in every one of my videos, and that is I don't have a script. But there are some subject matters that I know very well. Also, none of our videos will you find edited. Everything is one take, whether it's live or a live recording. This is because we want you to really understand that we're just normal everyday people. This isn't some sort of sales pitch and blah, blah, blah. I love my country. I served in the Army. I'm a veteran. And for years now, I have been going out on my own and helping to bring soldiers all the way home, as we call it, through a thing that became the PTSD Fund and the mission. And basically, my training is such that I could go out and my contacts are such that I could go out and I could find people who, these veterans that wouldn't come all the way home. And I was able to use the modern science of tapping, which is what we're going to specifically talk about today, and the ancient martial art meditation of Qigong, as well as some brain foods and other such things, different techniques from radical forgiveness to all sorts of other things that I used, and then other people have been using to help bring these veterans all the way home. So this 22 Days of Veteran Hope is about solving the inside on the way to raising the money to solve the outside problem. You cannot fix your life if you don't have a roof over your head. And we have far too many veterans that are living on the street. And So for this 11 on 11th thing, this Veterans Day project, if you're part of an organization or a church or just a loving individual who knows somebody, we want you to send in your nominations. Now, we don't just want, this isn't a free-for-all, okay? The veterans that get suggested to us, we have to have verification. That's why we want to come from a church or an organization. But we are willing to hear stories from anybody, of course. From that, we will pick 11 veterans or veteran families, and we will take the money raised, and we will do everything in our power to create a place for them to live. Now, I'm talking about giving them a home. Okay, I'm not trying to solve all their problems. This is not an alcohol or drug rehab program or anything like that. This is simply, Veterans House is simply taking a veteran off the ground, putting him on a floor with a roof above his head. If we do that, everything else that is required to fix that veteran's life will be much, much easier for the community to accomplish, for that person to accomplish. I have some experience with this because of health issues and my own struggle with PTSD. I spent a lot of time homeless. And where I am right now is a home studio. I know what happens when you haven't been in a normal home situation for a long time. Whether you're on your feet or living out of a car or in a program somewhere, life is not normal. And all the things that like you probably listening, if you're not one of these people, may take for granted, when they've been gone a long time and you get them back, it's like an unthawing process. I remember the first time that I had a battle with cancer and I was homeless. My feet were bad. It took 6 months of being inside for my feet to get better. 6 months. Right now, when I want a cup of coffee, I don't walk or drive across town and pony up money and blah, blah, blah. I go into my kitchen, to my coffee maker, and I pour myself a cup of coffee. Now, that might not seem miraculous to you. And if it doesn't, you've never been homeless. I know people who claim to have been homeless. They went to an argument with their spouse or their we'll call this with the big money person in their partnership. That person kicked this person out, and he spent 4 months in a shelter. Spent not a single night outside. Had everything that he needed, and then was taken back in by the rich person. This guy walks around acting like he knows everything there is to know about being homeless. And I'm telling you, he does disservice after disservice after disservice, because he tells good people that the people that are out there because they choose to be. Even if they are a drug addict now, my money is on they were not a drug addict when they became homeless. This notion that alcoholism and drug addiction cause homelessness is just not true. The statistics do not bear that out. What really happens is people become homeless, and that turns them into alcoholics and drug addicts. The last time I did my mission in San Francisco, I had 5 different gangs try to rob me, big mistake. Try to recruit me to sell their drugs, not a good idea. to get me to buy their drugs. Anything beyond medical marijuana, I'm not for. And I do not support it being sold, or the gangs and crimes, and blah, blah, etc. You know what the fifth one was? A group of San Francisco City police officers. What happens when people are homeless is just disgusting. There was a restaurant I worked for, doing marketing, and it had an upstairs, and I had a little office up there, and there another guy had an office, and we had windows into this alley. And we heard this commotion. I looked outside. Long story short, a gang member was trying to put a needle in the arm of an 80-year-old lady who was living homeless in that alley. Didn't know that. Turns out that she was an English teacher who had 3 generations of San Franciscans who had been in her class. She'd won awards after awards, and one of these Chinese nationals came in with no respect for our laws, bought where she had her rent-controlled apartment, pretended it was going to be, that whole building was going to be their primary residence, and kicked this 80-year-old English teacher out onto the street. So blah, 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 long story short, we saved her life, and some people found out she was out there, and they got her off the street. She had no desire to do drugs. This gang, they were holding her down, trying to put a needle in her arm to turn her into a drug addict. If you go to NA and AA especially, and you look at their national reports, because they do, surveys of their membership, you will find so many alcoholics who live in 6- and 7-figure homes. So where's the correlation? Homelessness causes lots of problems that weren't there before. Homelessness is like falling into a deep hole where there's no ladder and nobody hearing your calls and cries for help. And who comes along is the tiger who jumps in the hole and eats you. That's what homelessness is like. Because when you're out there on the street, you are prey. And people want to know everything about you. And these people that show up, they're supposed to be, yo, I'm your best friend. Okay, they're working for the gangs. They're trying to find the way in. Because they want to take everything you have. Because they have nothing, they have no vision, and they have no heart left. Homelessness is not a joke. I once had, and I'm going to tell you the name of the group, the Eagles, who have a Jimmy Durante fund for children. When I was trying to do a film on the nearly 1,000 underage kids living along the river in the Sacramento, California area, okay? And that's not an exaggeration. You can go look at the records of the teenage home there and you can see that in a month, 973 people signed in that were underage homeless. And I'm trying to do a film, and I want them to help me, with some money to make this production happen. And you know what they said to me? They let a guy in there convince all of them that homeless children, not just homeless adults, were out there because they choose to be. I'm going to tell you right now, almost nobody chooses to be out there. But there are a lot of veterans who live in the woods, who live on Mount Shasta, okay, who live in the alleys. Why? Because they're scared to live at home. Some of you are old enough to know what happened and a few times since, but immediately after Vietnam, a lot of the special forces guys came home. And let me tell you about the training. In a nutshell, what you are doing physically is an automatic reaction. It's like a door opens in your head, things happen and they close, because you are not trained to think through that. You are trained to react through that. And so people, these guys, they have firefights in their head. What happened after Vietnam is a lot of them would wake up in the middle of these nightmares in their own homes, and some of them killed their families before they realized they weren't there anymore. And so some of these guys are literally scared to come all the way home. Well, I've seen it. I've seen it get fixed. So you think about soldiers and the thing about tapping science is I've never seen tapping science not work on a soldier who did the work. And soldiers almost always do the work. These guys, these women, these, in a lot of cases, still young kids, in my mind, are out there suffering for no reason. And the reason that I think that is because I know about tapping science. It's not an if. Okay. Tapping was discovered by Dr. Callahan, and the University of Florida studied it for 12 years, declared it a science. When people are out there suffering from trauma that can be removed, and Big Pharma and the VA squash it, it just breaks my heart. We lose 22 veterans to suicide every single day. Don't hear about that on the news, do you? 3 people get shot in Chicago on the weekend. Doesn't compare to 22 veterans killing themselves from a disease called post-traumatic stress disorder when we have a cure. Okay, did you hear what I said? We have a cure. Now, half the people in the crowd that have the word doctor in front of their names, they just went, "Oh, you can't claim that." Yes, I can, and I'll tell you why. Because Dr. Callahan, when he discovered tapping, in 30 days cured all of his patients, and he had no practice. And the American Psychiatric Association saw this, and they sued him over the use of the word cure, and he won. He's the only one in U.S. psychiatric history legally allowed to use the word cure. And if you notice, almost nothing in psychiatry and psychology has the word science behind it. This is tapping science. Again, it's not an if. It's only if you use it or not. If you learn it or not, for yourself and other people. So, real quickly here, because I don't like these lives to go over 22 minutes. I want you to write down really quickly these tapping points. Okay, the side of your hand or your karate chop point, your eyebrow, which is this inside area, side of eye, under eye, under the nose, the chin, and this cleft in the chin, collarbone, go to the ball, go out and down an inch. You'll see a meaty area. That's the one. the bra line, which I call the man spot, because this is where men hold most of their trauma, and then the top of the head. Now, those are the tapping points of a kind of a cure-all routine that was invented down in Florida when they declared this a science. It's called EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. Tapping was originally called thought field therapy. And the reason that's important is because you want to bring that thought back up into the thought field one last time so we can dissipate it. So EFT is something that you can use on a regular basis to get rid of the past and get rid of the near past, things that just happened. One of the things that you'll see us doing during this 22 days is teaching people to do tapping because of all of the trauma in our country right now. Not even veterans, just normal everyday citizens, kids, etc. What happened with COVID and what is going on right now with Israel and a president who's obviously a criminal and nobody doing anything about it. All of this stuff is just the trauma, the stress. People are just becoming paralyzed. It's not necessary. And here's what you do. The EFT, this emotional freedom technique, it's a sequence. It's a sequence of those tapping points we just went over. On top of tapping those points in the right order and in the right way, you're going to be saying certain psychological discharge statements where basically you're describing the problem and then announcing the solution or the conclusion. So you would say, for instance, this situation at work, I can't stand it anymore, but I really love my profession and admire myself, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? You will, in the coming days, learn that there are 6 words that you can use and as part of that conclusion thing, and I'll post those in the description. But basically, how this happens is you do 3 of these statements, and while you're hitting your karate chop point on each hand. It starts off like this. You're saying blah blah blah. It really sucks, but I love and respect myself. Blah blah blah. I can't stand it when such and such happens. But, I forgive and accept myself. Such and such hurt me so bad and that I can barely see straight, but I love and respect myself. So you're doing 3 statements, hitting the karate chop points. You're saying, this is the problem, and here's where I'm going. This stuff is going on, but I'm a good person. I have talents and blah, 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 etc. This next thing that you do is you continue to talk about the problem. Really get it into the thought field. Really talk about what you don't like. Just get it all out. And don't mince words. Cuss, be angry, get it all out. Oh man, so-and-so at work, oh, you did it again. Ah! All right? Go ahead, get it out. And then, every now and then go, but I'm letting it go. But I'm dissipating it. But I'm flushing that out and letting that go away. And so while you're saying this stuff, you're going eyebrow, side of eye, under eye, under nose, chin, collarbone, man spot, top of the head, or the baby spot. Then you're going back and doing it again. And you don't have to tap a lot of times in each location. Get a sentence out or so at each location, and you go through that cycle 2 or 3 times. And then when you get through, I want you to take 3 deep breaths and let them out. This thing of but I'm letting it go. See, what's going on here? You know how in the Bible, Jesus talks about the burden of your sins? Okay, that it's weight. You feel weighted down. Depressed people, they walk around like this because of the weight. Okay? Physics has proven that trauma, stress, is energy stuck on the body. Physics has also shown us that in parallel to our lymph nodes, our nerves, our veins is a fourth set of channels called chi lines. And crystalline energy flows down these chi lines. This is not some frou-frou junk. We have instruments that measure quantum flow, and we've pointed them at the body, and we've seen where they are. As much as I hate the Chinese government, Chinese in history have given us a lot of stuff. 5,000 years ago, they gave us a map of the body that had all the chi lines. Here in modern America today, we've proven that's exactly where they are. So it is this stuck energy that is the problem. And that is why something as simple as tapping on the meridian points in a certain sequence will dissipate that energy. And when the energy is gone, the trauma is gone. Concerning that thing that you were tapping on. You can go through your entire history. You can go through your entire inventory of bad things and tap out everything. I mean, it could be something as small as, I really didn't like the way the lady at the 7-Eleven looked at me today when I, complained that there was mold coming out of the, Coke machine. Blah, 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 whatever. It could be something simple, or it could be something really traumatic. Like the kid down the street who lost a parent. Wow, talk about trauma. It's hard enough to handle that when you're an adult. So everything from this guy pissed me off, or this guy made me, did something that I decided would make me feel bad, all the way up to special forces soldiers with firefights in their nightmare heads. This works. It's been proven over and over and over again to work. Lots of bigwigs around the world for the past decade plus have been saying, hey, tapping, tapping, tapping. It's amazing. It's almost a miracle. And yet Big Pharma, the VA, and lots of other organizations, American Psychiatric Association, etc., like this, they have done everything to make it go away. Why? It doesn't make them money. What I just showed you cost you $0. Now, I know that I haven't given you like charts and everything like that, but we have those. You can go to TapQi.com, which is TAPQI, and you'll be able to get them. You can go to Stan the Human here on YouTube, this channel. There's a playlist called the TapQi playlist, and you can learn all sorts of stuff. You can see examples of this. You can also see examples of Qigong. See, because TapQi is tapping, Qigong, and 5 other disciplines, one of which is also a science. And these things are amazing for your health. There's also, the ABCs of brain feed there, and other sorts of things. But the main thing that we want from you today is to become a part of this 22 days of veteran hope. For the first 11 days, yesterday through the end of the month, 31st, which is Halloween, we are offering up to 1.1 million free t-shirts, free plus fee, shipping and handling, right? If you will give $1.11. And then on the 1st through the 11th, we're going to kind of do that thing where you get everybody going so they know that on the 1st through the 11th, they can give their money. All right. It helps the algorithms and the crowdfunding sites. It's this big crowdfunding thing where we're raising the money for these houses minus what we get in $1.11. Okay. And if we do this, and I believe that we can, it's really not that much. Okay. We need, we'll give 11 homes to veterans. So what we do for each of these homes, we want 11,111 people to give $11.11. That adds up to 123,300, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Which is enough, even in today's market, for us to get a veteran a home that is theirs. We take this home, whether we bought it or built it, and we put it in trust. This does several things. It makes it so that it can't be taken from the person. They can't do something stupid. They can't give that up because of a bad situation in their life. The idea is for that to always be there for them no matter what. The other thing that this allows is for if this person, their life has changed and now they've made money and they save money and they want to go live on their own and have their own home, which this is if they want it for the rest of their life. But if they want to own their own home, that gift house that they've had, we can give to somebody else. We can gift to somebody else. And there are things to make sure that this goes well. The trust officer will do things to make sure that the person is okay, that they have the furniture they need and the initial things they need in life, and then the community will take over from there. Again, our job is to get them off the street into a house, the roof above their head. Everything else is easier after that. If not easy, it's easier. All right, we're coming up on our maximum time here. 33 minutes and 33 seconds. I'm Stanley Human. I love you, and I certainly hope that you will learn tap.